Hello, and welcome to another episode of Canadian History Ehx. It is the most powerful earthquake to occur in Canada in the past 1,000 years, and it would have an impact to not only Canada and the United States, but across the ocean as well. On January 26, 1700, at about 9 p.m., a 1,000-kilometer section of the Juan de Fuca plate experienced a megathrust earthquake that pushed the plate 20 meters, resulting in an earthquake that measured an estimated 8.7 to 9.2 on the Richter scale. The earthquake was so strong it released the same amount of energy as the United States consumes in an entire month today. It is also significantly stronger than the earthquake that hit San Francisco in 1906. According to evidence based on the Japanese records, it is believed that the earthquake took place at about 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., sending a massive tsunami across the ocean towards Japan. The 1,000-kilometer section of land that moved ran from Vancouver Island all the way down to Northern California. Looking back at the date, apart from the written records by the Japanese concerning the tsunami, there are also oral stories told by the First Nations of the region impacted by the quake. It is hard to pinpoint if they are speaking of the 1700 earthquake, but there are stories of a major event that was very destructive around this time. Based on the number of generations going back to tell the stories of this event, it has been pinpointed to between the late 1600s and the early 1700s. One legend speaks of a large earthquake and ocean wave that destroyed the settlements at Pashina Bay. The only community on the bay not to be wiped out was Mesite, due to the fact it was 75 feet above sea level. One First Nations woman was told to be the only survivor from Pashina Bay simply because she was away at Barkley Sound when it happened. On the north end of Vancouver Island, the First Nations people have a story of a nighttime earthquake that destroyed nearly every house in the community. Another settlement was destroyed by a landslide at the same time, according to First Nations oral tales. There is a great deal of physical evidence of an earthquake happening as well. There are several ghost forests of red cedars on the coast of Oregon and Washington, which were killed by the lowering of the coastal forest into a tidal zone by the earthquake. The outermost rings of these trees dates to 1699. Core samples done of the ocean floor also show debris from landslides in the Pacific Northwest and lower mainland around this time. The rings were also quite wide leading up to the last ring, which showed there was a sudden event that occurred, rather than a slow rise of the ocean. In the 1980s and 1990s, scientists found that lands along the coast dropped suddenly and were covered in waves and mud. Delicate marsh plants that were alive were killed by the rapidly advancing seawater. On the Japanese side of things, it is strongly believed that a large tsunami hit Japan about 10 hours following the earthquake. Japanese records describe waves that were 6 to 10 feet high, hitting the coast. Based on current research, it is believed that the tsunami went 2 kilometers upriver and destroyed farmed fields, fishermen's shacks, a government warehouse, and salt kins. Mentions of the tsunami are found in official reports sent to Edo and in private family sources and histories. None of these reports mention an earthquake in Japan, which lends evidence to linking the tsunami to the earthquake that happened in British Columbia. For some time, the tsunami was called Japan's orphan tsunami because there was no local earthquake to trigger it. The Bridge of the Gods, which is a natural dam that was created by the Bonneville Slide, is believed by researchers to have been caused by the 1700 earthquake. Recent work using radiocarbon dating has found that the slide links to an event that occurred between 1670 and 1760, which would put it in place for the earthquake. A lava flow eruption also occurred at a volcanic cone, which is located near Terrence, BC, around the time of the earthquake. The lava flow eruption is said to have occurred between 1668 and 1714, damming the nearby river and forming a lava lake. As for the fault, scientists have believed that it was dormant up until 20 years ago when it was determined that it has magnitude 9 or greater earthquakes every 500 years or so. It is believed that 13 earthquakes of this size have occurred over the course of 6,000 years. Will the area see another large earthquake? Well, Canadian History Ehx, we deal with the past, not the future, but it is believed that a magnitude 9 quake happens every 526 years on average, with 19 happening in the past 10,000 years. As for quakes that register 8 or higher, they happen every 234 years, which makes this area do. Information for this piece comes from Earthquakes Canada, Wikipedia, and opd.org. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Canadian History Ehx, and if you did, please give a like and review. You can reach me at crwbaird@gmail.com or on Twitter at craigbaiרד.